Artificial intelligence is already an impact on our profession.
So you've been working as an architect for quite a long time now.
It's important to talk about technology. The possibility is there, the resources are not available.
It's a good connection to the next question.
Insulation thickness had to be 50 centimeters. No one says this is not possible.
Hello everyone, today Maria and I are here with Ignacio Borrego. Ignacio Borrego is not only our professor at the Technical University of Berlin, as you have heard, but also an incredible architect from Spain that we have here with us now in Berlin. Ignacio, thank you so much for your time. I'm very glad that you're here. And not only will this be an interview with Ignacio to explain his work, it will also be a tour of his projects in the university and maybe a follow-up in a different country.
Thank you for having us. And the first question will be, how would you describe your design philosophy? Are there specific principles or ideas that guide your work?
When you're designing any architectural project, you have to solve a problem. That's something transversal to all methods in architecture, in my opinion. And this has to be done in the most efficient and clear way. I think that when we give our service, we can give an added value. And this added value that can be answering your question, I think that it's important to think about the architecture as an experience and to think about the user and how the building is going to be creating emotions or how it's going to be received by the users. That's leading the way I design. This is about the goal, but then how I do it or how I develop the project, I think it's important to talk about technology. I think that my education as architect in Spain is also, as in Germany, as in other countries, but especially in Spain, it's really a combination of specialities, and we are at the same time engineers, at the same time designers, and we are able to calculate our own projects, not only to solve the space or to solve the construction, but we also go into installations, into structures. Technological approach to architecture, I think that it's very important, not only to think what do you want to build, but also how you want to build it.
Really interesting and a very insightful answer. So you've been working as an architect for quite a long time now. Have you had any challenges throughout your career? And maybe could you tell us how you overcame some of those challenges?
I finished in the year 2000, so already 24 years, but I was able to build one project while I was a student. My father was an architect, so I have been in contact with construction from the beginning. I think that's quite important. And I think that it was challenging at the beginning to be responsible for an important project, but being very young. This is something that has changed with the years, not only because you have more experience, but also because you look older, and then that challenge is different. But something that has not changed a lot, I think that I have not done any project in which no one says this is not possible. And this is challenging. That's part of the challenge to make this happen.
You've worked across multiple countries and cities. How has your work in different cultural contexts influenced your architectural approach?
Interesting question. I have done projects in many countries, that's true. I am not as international as I would like to. I have much more experience, of course, in Spain. The local climatic conditions is one of the things that has bigger impact in the way I have approached designs. I remember, for example, working in an invited competition in Finland. We were asked to do a housing project where the insulation thickness had to be 50 centimeters. And at that time, we were used to 10 times less in Madrid. So that shocking difference in our approach to a project. But for the rest, I think that it has had a bigger impact, specificities of one site rather than the country where it is.
It's the format of each country. For example, in Germany, it's DIN. In Russia, it's GOST. It could be different formats, standards that set in the country. Is it challenging?
At the end, it's similar. So insurance has a big impact, and it is much more restricted in Germany, as far as I know. Anyway, at the time of designing, you always have to consider different sets of regulations.
Could you elaborate on one of your projects that was the most meaningful to you, and maybe what was the inspiration behind it and some challenges you faced?
I am very excited about one project that in fact it has become two projects that I have built in my own office in Madrid that are two little structures to host solar panels, photovoltaic structures. It has been motivating for several reasons. One can be that I have been able to turn one installation that usually, traditionally, conventionally is just left for the end, is always hidden, like solar panels, and it's decided by someone in parallel to the design. It's attached to architecture with any spatial quality. But in this case, I was able to handle it myself, produce something else, that electricity. with the panel. So I could do space, I could do shadow, I could do space. And right now in my office, we can have lunch outside, we can rest, we have shadow. The quality in the office is better because the panels are protecting part of the office. That was quite challenging. The second part of this adventure is that I built the projects myself, and that was revealing because the plans I had to do were in a different way, because the plans I drew only those lines that were necessary, because the rest I knew I didn't have to translate anything. It was for me. I did not have to do all the parts of the conventional project. I could stick to the essential, and that was quite interesting. And I could continue designing while I was building, and that was very rewarding.
It's a good connection to the next question. If you had any failures or unlike situations on construction site, and if they were, what kind it was?
If I find failures on the construction site, this is the first time that I build my own project. Before building my own things, I was already aware of the difficulties and the problems of construction, and I think that I'm quite strict and obsessive with the design, but I'm very flexible with the results on site. I can cope with problems and change, redesign on the moment after a mistake, and not just say, no, we have to do it new again. No, if something is wrong, we have to first think how to continue.
Your project often play with geometry and form intriguing ways. How do you approach the use of geometry in your design?
I think that if you analyze the projects, there's a geometrical interest behind, independent from the project or from other things. But there is a very strong connection between the construction system and the final result. And this is what interests me. When you're designing, maybe I'm repeating me a bit, but when you're designing, you're not only looking for a final result, but you're also looking for a way of solving how to produce it, how to build it. Once you choose construction system, then the form should be influenced by this decision. So for example, if you're working with a system, a panel that is very light, with very little concrete, just 4 centimeters concrete, creates a sandwich that is very stable and can produce very clean structures, then I think that this is the opportunity to profit from it. And then you can make big windows, cantilevers to produce shadows, have a special reaction to context. But if you're using very light galvanized profiles, then the solution, the formal geometry is completely different. If the geometry has to do with the inclination of the sun and with the lightness of the material, something else completely different happens. If you compare the projects and you see these geometrical similarities, probably it has to do with these construction systems.
You use a lot of technology, obviously. What do you think in technology, including AI and digital fabrication, will be shaping the future of architecture?
Artificial intelligence is already an impact on our profession. I have not seen impact on reality yet, but I have seen it on a design level. I cannot preview yet contributions on experimental level. Conventional architecture, I'm sure that it will bring efficiency, it will improve the results. The question is whether or how. I don't say it won't, but I don't know yet how it will help us to experiment and to improve new ways of designing. So how to make new things is, in my opinion, the challenge. This is about design, about fabrication. Digital fabrication is already happening. Of course, it's already in architecture, but not in the general market. So traditional rational discourse from the modern movement that seriality, reproduction, so the modulation, a lot of concepts that have influenced architecture that are given by the industry. The industry, it costs much less to do the profiles with a certain size, and then you just cut it, and then if all the pieces are the same, it's cheaper, and this has an impact on architecture. Digital fabrication brings the possibility that 100 pieces that are completely different, it costs the same resources, the same material, and the same energy as if all the pieces are the same. So the standardization is not necessary anymore. We can do designs where all the pieces are different as long as they form part of the same system. But digital fabrication is not yet on the regular construction, so it's not available and it's not cheap. From a design level, we are excited to see when is the moment that this become real. So the possibility is there, but the resources are not available yet for any project outside.
Did your office use parametric design in your project?
In my office, it has not been relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have used it, it has not been, for some things we have used it, but it has not been part of the design. So we were talking about my work as architect in my office, but right now we are at TU Berlin, at the university. This is a model of a project that we did here with students. And here we were supported by digital tools and parametric design.
Mm-hmm. I think it was a great transition to our next interview.
Yes.
And thanks
Tour.
Tour. And thanks a lot for being here.
Okay.
And see you in the next
See you downstairs.